Mic check, mic check, mic check. What's going on YouTube? This is Sleeky Ratings here. I'm coming at you today with Karate Kid. It's a long time in the making. This is going to be a 3-part series. First one, what I'm going to do right now is about the movies. Second part is going to be the show itself, Cobra Kai, and the new film coming out. Third one's going to be about the top 10 characters, just because there's so much unpacked here. I thought about making it one long video, but I'd rather break it up in 3 individual videos. So let's just get right into it, alright? Karate Kid, as I kind of just mentioned, spoiler alerts ahead here, essentially a franchise of films, to which then they made a show about, to which now they also might make a movie about. The show, what a lot of you people know, is called Cobra Kai. Super popular. It made Karate Kid kind of reboom. It just made the whole franchise reboom in a way to the point where they're making another movie now, because Karate Kid came out ages ago, which is kind of awesome because I always thought the Karate Kid movies were awesome, seeing them, watching the show piece by piece as it like continued on. So let's just get right into the movies, okay? So what I'm going to do is, there's a total of 5 movies, alright? 5. What I'm going to do is do my ranking as I usually do, right? So 5th one being the worst, 1st one being the best, in case anyone was confused as to how my ranking system goes. 5 is always the worst, 1's always the best. As far as like when I rank film franchises going, unless I say otherwise, that's typically how I rank some of my stuff, okay? If you haven't checked out, go check my Shrek thing, the Shrek franchise. Go check out my Shrek franchise episode. That's how I did that one. This one I'm doing Karate Kid. So just in case you guys didn't understand, 5's the worst, 1st is the best. Let's get right down to this, okay? The 5th one, I'm putting the next Karate Kid. This came out in 1994, and it's featuring Hilary Swank with Mr. Miyagi and stuff. Her character, aka Miss Pierce. I mean, guys, I don't have that much great things to say about it. I'll be honest. Like, I actually rewatched it recently just so I can remember some of the stuff, just because it was that, like, not that great, in my opinion. It was very hard for me to come up with some pros for this. You know, the pro I kind of gave it, and this is really me being lenient. You know, I said that it's a different style karate because I felt like throughout the whole film, it's like her finding her zen. Like, she's just basically this kid who's acting up as a kid. Like, she's like not a bad person, if you will, but she, you know, just causes issues with her family. Her mom or grandma, or no, her mom, grandma, whatever the situation is, goes to basically California, stay at Mr. Miyagi's place, and he's like, hey, I'll stay here and watch her. That's kind of weird. But regardless, though, it just, that plot didn't make sense. I don't know. They're like, hey, we need a break from each other. Mr. Miyagi's like, oh, I'll basically be a babysitter. And then throughout that, you know, she jumps on his car. She does this Karate Kid move, jumps on the car. And he's like, oh, where'd you learn that? She's like, oh, I learned karate from my dad. Okay, of course. So then, you know, they start this whole thing. She finds her zen. She does all this stuff. It's just not the similar karate we're used to. The only action I see with karate is like when she's practicing at the temple and all that stuff. And that's basically about it. And then the ending, you know, where a fight occurs. And also, you know, that's why I'll give it that pro on that. Callbacks I actually kind of like, considering how far apart some of the callbacks are. You know, this was, like I said, came out in 94. Mr. Miyagi talks about living with Daniel. That was kind of cool. Mr. Miyagi does his hand thing, right, to fix Daniel up. That's awesome, because that's in the first Karate Kid and some others. And then this is coming from Karate Kid Part 2. But, you know, the ending battle where Mr. Miyagi's fighting their military leader, their boss, they're basically their person in charge. He like does that, he was going to hit, and then he doesn't. Daniel does that in the second one to Chosen. So I thought that was kind of cool of a callback. Again, it's minor things like that. If you haven't seen the films, you have to kind of watch them in order to understand them. I just thought that was kind of a couple cool callbacks. The cons, I mean, there's not, like I said, it wasn't that great. The plot, mid at best. And that's just me just being kind of nice. Terrible bad guy, super cliche. Like the gas station scene, like, I saw it coming from a mile away. I'm not saying it's supposed to be like a horror film where you're not supposed to see this kind of stuff coming, but terrible bad guys. The main bad guy, I honestly forget his name, the main bad guy trying to hit on Miss Pierce. He was like, hey, come on, I know you want to kiss me. Then he fights her and all that stuff at the end. It's so cliche. It's so bad. Like, I just think it's so stupid. And then, like, as much as I love Mr. Miyagi, that ending part, oh, no, she has to do this. Like, no, she doesn't, bro. Y'all could have just walked away. Yeah, her boyfriend, whatever you want to call him, got beaten up, but it's like, I don't know. I just don't think it's great. And honestly, according to the numbers in Box Mojo, and I'll put the pictures right up here, it did the worst, as in money-wise, meaning, like, popularity was not there for it. It got, like, approximately, like, 15.8 million, roughly, worldwide, which is honestly, like, yeah, maybe back then that's worth a little bit, but still though, like I don't know, they were such on a hot roll with Karate Kid Part 1, 2, and 3 And then this came out and it was a complete flop. So Sleeky rating, I honestly give that 4 out of 10. You know, it's 5th spot as far as the franchise goes in my mind, but it's 4 out of 10 on like my ranking system, my rating system, ranking rating. You get what I'm saying. I give it a 4 out of 10. Not that great. So let's get on the 4th one. This is where it's kind of controversial. The Karate Kid, the 2010 one with Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith. Now, I know. Hear me out though. Mr. Parker and Mr. Han, essentially what this movie is literally a parallel remake of the original Karate Kid. Came out in 2010. Whether or not you see these things as a pro or a con, that's going to be up to you. But let me explain why. It revived the series because you got to understand, the next Karate Kid was such a flop. 94 came out. So what is that? 16 years later, then they revived with the Karate Kid with Mr. Han and Mr. Parker. Completely parallel, except it takes place in China, right? Completely parallel. I mean, the kid moves there, he gets bullied. Mr. Han is this janitor dude, teaches him. Where have we seen this before? Exactly, that's my point. Literally like a copycat of it, and honestly I think that's where we're going for that. I did like it though because it brought back the old roots in the sense of tournament style. They're doing kung fu, they're not doing karate. That's where how's it a Karate Kid movie when it's not karate? You know, it's kung fu. That has water behind it, that has weight behind it. But you know, I just said that has water behind it. Point, it has weight behind it. You know what I mean? Like I get that argument behind it. The pro I will have to give it to though, surprisingly, of all the films that came out, this was the highest grossing movie worldwide out of the whole series, which actually kind of astonished me when I looked into that. They approximately made $351 million off of that, which is crazy compared to the rest of the numbers. I mean, you just heard 15.8, which is terrible. And then you'll hear the other two, which aren't too far off, but they're far enough off. You're like, how did this do? Great. Well, you know, this is what I'll put in a con for. It's not necessarily karate, it's kung fu they learn. Granted, these kids doing it because like the bad guy in this series is Chang. If I said that right. I haven't seen this movie for a long time, but I do remember, you know, bad guy's Chang. He's a bully kid. I mean, these kids I just remember watching the tournament. Some of these spin kicks they do just like looks absolutely brutal. But regardless, it's not necessarily karate. It's not like the Karate Kids we see, the Karate Kid movies, excuse me, and it's really actually not even in Cobra Kai. Yeah, so to be a Karate Kid movie, to use the name but be kung fu, that's iffy. And you know, like, if you know, there might be history buffs on here that are watching this like, well, it stems for that or whatever. You know, so be it. And, you know, that could be the case. That still holds weight as well. You know, it's not like the traditional movies. Pro side of it, again, like I said, it is a tournament style, which is awesome because that's what the most of the OG films were based on. The con connected to not being a Karate Kid movie, they used the name for clout. I'm not saying it's confirmed or anything, but what I'm saying is that they used the name to maybe revive it, but to also be like, hey, look, another Karate Kid movie in the series. You know, I mean, we've seen this before. They made movies where they used the name just to revive it back, right? And that's coming to my mind right now is Jurassic World. Not saying it's those bad movies whatsoever, but they're stemming it off of Jurassic Park because it has that connection to it. So by having the connection to it, they're going to have that audience from the OG Jurassic Parks in there. Same goes with this. They're using the Karate Kid, literally the Karate Kid. Even like when in Google, yeah, if you type in the Karate Kid, the OG typically comes up. But sometimes you have to be like 2010 for that version to come up, just because that's how close it is to it. So, you know, they could be using the name for clout. That's kind of a negative in my mind. I'm not saying it's like mid. I'm not saying it's great by any means. But I gave it a 5 out of 10. Call it what you see it. You know, there is some pros in there. Like I said, I was even shocked about it being the most grossing money-wise. But maybe that's because there was that 16 years gap between all the OG Karate Kid movies, and then boom. Is it a little different take? Absolutely. You know, that's why it's a toss-up between being a pro and a con. But they're using the name Karate Kid. But I'm just simply saying, like, that's why I'm only giving it a 5 out of 10. Yes, they brought the tournament style back. Yes, highest grossing film. Yes, some of the fighting scenes are really, really cool. Yes, it's parallel to the first one, but doesn't fall like under the karate circumstance movies. They're using the name for clout. And again, like, I would at least like, yes, they're going to be parallel to it, but I wish they did some things a little differently. But they literally, like, the one thing I will say, like, they did a couple little different tweaks, which honestly I thought was kind of funny. Because I was just thinking about it recently where Mr. Han, you know, Mr. Parker goes into his little workshop like how Daniel does with Mr. Miyagi. And he's trying to grab it with chopsticks, grabs the fly, but then Mr. Han swats it with the fly swatter. Okay, that's kind of funny. You know what I mean? That was a little different take. But it was like so parallel to it. Like you're like, oh, they literally like took the first one and like duped it. 5 out of 10. I'm confident in the answer. The third one's going into Karate Kid Part 2. Now, this was a great film. Okay, A lot of pros in this one. This one came out in 1986. Chozen is the bad guy in it. This obviously features Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi. They go to Japan. I thought that was kind of cool because you're learning about the different culture there. Mr. Miyagi's teaching them how like the OG karate started in the Miyagi family. Builds a background. You learn about the rules. It builds a background for their relationship, because obviously they have a relationship in the first film, but really it was this film too that I would argue like they became like family. Like, yes, first one they become family in, but this one like kind of cements it. Like literally Mr. Miyagi's like, oh, I gotta go back to Japan. Daniel LaRusso's like, oh, hey, I just spent all my money, I'm coming with you. And he comes with them and he stays with them, does all the fun stuff, right? I mean, that's where we see him break the ice thing. They make that reference in Cobra Kai later on. Spoiler alert, like I said, for the 5,000th time. But he breaks the ice with his hand, right? Which I wish I could do. Like, wish I can do that, but I can't. But it made approximately $115 million worldwide, so pretty solid. It's the second best out of the whole series. Surprisingly, like I said, New Karate Kid did the most, but this did the second best. Really, it was hard to honestly pick cons for this, and this might be just me nitpicking. The ending, you see some mini fights between Chozen and Daniel throughout the movie, You see some mini fights, what have you, but really you see it in the end where Chozen's like, oh, he swings down, you embarrassed me, you took my girl, all that stuff, so he's going to fight him to death. All right, two young guys fight him to death, a whole audience there, a bit much. In front of a whole audience like it's a gladiator battle. But at the end of the day, no one actually lives or dies, but that's where that hand thing comes in. You know, Daniel's like, live or die, man. And he wants to die, of course. That obviously doesn't happen. Mother Nature strikes, and they all like rush to the little barn, shed, house, thingy-mahoo, and they make up, call it a day. It's kind of a wholesome experience like that. You go from like about to fighting death to like making up, whatever, or kind of making up. I wouldn't say make up, but like, you know, that's where the tie turns. And obviously you see it in Cobra Kai that they get back together and they like become really close friends, they become senseis together. But that's in my next video. I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was a pretty solid. Why didn't I give it 8 or 9 out of 10? It's just because I was like leaving a room. Because I feel like if you put too many movies in the same rating, I mean, how are you going to be able to split them? How are you going to be able to rank them saying, oh, this one's better than this one if they're the same ranking? You know what I mean? So I gave this one a 7 out of 10. I feel like it's a solid answer. Second one is going to Karate Kid Part 3. It came out in 1989, so roughly like 3 years from the second one. So they were on a roll there for a second. A lot of characters in this one. I mean, you get to meet Mr. Silver, Mike Barnes. They're bad guys. Kreese is back. Bad guy. Johnny's not in this one, folks. Daniel LaRusso's in it, obviously. Mr. Miyagi's in it. Kind of interesting. We meet Jessica Andrews, which I would say she's super important because she comes back in Cobra Kai and explains to Daniel's wife why Terry Silver and them are like literally monsters. It's perfect, actually. I love that callback they do in Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai's back. Not the show, obviously. Cobra Kai, the dojo's back after you thought it disappeared from the first movie. It has a poetic style ending. Underdog style. Daniel's actually scared to fight. You know, Mr. Miyagi's like, you can't quit, but it was kind of cool throughout the whole film because Daniel's like, oh, I have to go to this tournament again and fight in the All Valley. Mr. Miyagi's like, no, we did it once, one and done, call it a day, pal. Terry Silver, being the monster that he is, great acting, but he's still a monster. He's like, you know what, no, I'll take you under my wing, I'll teach you. Teaches them the Cobra Kai way. So technically, Daniel LaRusso is a Cobra Kai member, which was wild. But then he finds out Mike Barnes has been working with him this whole time, and it was this whole big con. He runs away. Mr. Miyagi then basically is like, no, you can't quit, do all this stuff. Overall, great story. It's not similar to the first story by any stretch, but it's a different style of underdog where like he wants to keep going, but his OG leader's like, nah, you can't. He tries to go off to his own thing. It bites him in the butt. He's like, you know what? No, I'm going to still try to do this. And Mr. Miyagi's like, fine, let me help you. And then he helps them and they win. Kind of a cool story. You know, they open up a bonsai shop. Pretty cool experience. The con, I would say, you know, one of them is kind of weird, but it's the second lowest money making movie, which I was kind of shocked to see as well. But it only made $38.7 million. I thought with Cobra Kai coming back it would do better, but maybe it's because the second one did a lot of great stuff. The second part, and they're like, hey, how are we going to do the third? They brought Cobra Kai back. I was kind of shocked it did that low, folks, but it did. I mean, I don't know. I thought it was a great movie. I mean, at the time, $38 million is a lot. 1989, I guess that's a lot. But again, kind of like the fifth one I gave. That's low money, but overall, this plot was way better. Paul's way better. Cobra Kai comes back. Yeah, all these people come back in the show too, which is awesome because the third one, a ton of people come there. I gave this an 8 out of 10. Easy. Number one, let's go into the OG Karate Kid. Not the new one, the OG one. 1984 came out. You got Daniel LaRusso, you got Mr. Miyagi, you got Sensei Kreese, you got Johnny Lawrence, you got Ali, who I believe caused the beef between both of these people, but that's my opinion. You got Daniel's mom in it. You got Cobra Kai members in it like Tommy, Dutch, Bobby, etc. A lot of people in this one. Now, granted, like the Cobra Kai members, like I just mentioned just now, I mean, they're in it. Like they help bully the crap out of Daniel, which is why I kind of give this a note. I give this as a pro as well. Depending on what camp you go in, some people are like, oh, hey, no, Daniel was the bully. This dude just tried to come in and steal this guy's girl. But I'm actually in the camp that Johnny was the bad guy. Did Daniel come in? Yeah, but like he didn't know about the situation. Johnny's first reaction is to push him in the sand, and that's what stems all this. I fall in camp Daniel was the victim. You guys let me know in the comments. Are you team Johnny or team Daniel? Your choice. But this is the OG underdog story. Mr. Miyagi trains him. He sees that he's getting bullied and getting beaten up, whatever. He trains him. They take it to the All Valley. Daniel does the amazing kick. Whether or not it was legal, illegal, whatever, it stands. He won it. Sorry, camp Johnny people. Sucks to be you, but I'm just saying. It stand. He won. And we never hear the end of that. We hear that throughout Cobra Kai left and right. But regardless, that's a series pro in my book, is that's the underdog that starts the whole background of learning the backstory of learning all these characters. Johnny is only in this one. He's not in the other films until Cobra Kai the show, which kind of sucks, but that gives time for his character to build maybe. But nevertheless, though, I thought this OG film assisted in making the spin-off show that we have. So that's why I have to give it to this first one, because without this first one, I don't know, I wouldn't have done it. It's very, it's very interesting. Obviously, Karate Kid is separate, but it's very similar to Rocky. Rocky came out first, obviously, but similar scenario in Rocky is in Karate Kid, which I thought was really, really cool. Are they the same? I'm not saying they're the same whatsoever. I'm just saying it's a very similar plot line to Rocky, which I liked a lot and which a lot of people like a lot. Con, you could see that as a con being that similar to Rocky. Like, wait a minute, Rocky came out first and now they're making a Karate Kid movie, and that one was about boxing, about underdog winning. This is about Karate Kid winning. I don't know, maybe fighting movies were big at the time. You can see it as a con. I put that under as a con. You guys let me know in the comments if you think that's a big deal or not. But I put it under there. Now, with that being said, though, for being the OG film, it only made $90.8 million worldwide. Now, I say only, but it also came out in the 80s, which that's a ton of money probably. I don't have the conversion chart with me or whatever, but you get the point. I thought it'd be a lot more for being the OG, but regardless, though, I gave it a 9 out of 10. Easy. Solid film. Without this film, who knows whether the spin-off show and the movie that's coming out here would have occurred. So honestly, if they just start off the second part, that wouldn't really make any sense. But regardless, those are the rankings for each of them. It'll be interesting to see if people agree on me putting the OG Karate Kid in the first one. I don't know. I'm curious to see. But comment down below whether or not you agree, disagree with any of this stuff. I'd love to hear it. Comment down below if you have any ideas you want me to do. Subscribe down below and hit that little bell if you want to be notified for part 2 and part 3 coming out, and all the other in-depth reviews I will be making. I make shorts on my YouTube channel and on TikTok, so please go check that out. I greatly appreciate and support all the help I can get. You take care, guys. I'm out. See ya.